All right, welcome to welcome to the first live video, live shooting of Coffee with the Sheriff. I'm Sheriff Danny H. Rogers with the Guilford County Sheriff's Office, and our guest today is Chris and Curran Justice. I've asked them to come to talk with us today regarding autism and how important it is for law enforcement and a community to be able to identify and interact with our autism community. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, thank you both very much for coming. Taking time out of your busy schedule. Law enforcement is a huge profession, and we try to make sure that we stay focused and we have the tools that we need for training. But talk with Curran last week. Oh man, you know what? This would be a great opportunity. I said, "What do you think, man?" He said, "I think so." So, well, I thank you very much for taking time out to come in. So, tell us a little bit about you, Mr. Justice.
Well, thanks for the invite. Really happy to be here. Curran is really honored, to be here. He's been talking about it since he got the invite. But I'm a local real estate attorney. I've been here since 1999. Have my family here, and my daughter Kaylee, and of course, my son Curran. Try to stay involved in the community, and I'm really pleased to that you put the focus on on this subject matter and invited us here today to talk about it.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit. Tell us about you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I was diagnosed with autism in 2003 on my third birthday, which is actually in 2 days on Halloween.
Okay. Well, happy early birthday.
All right.
Happy early birthday. So, our first interaction was kind of strange for me. Just real talk. Because I had to understand and realize how important law enforcement and the sheriff's office is to you.
Mm-hmm.
For you to come up and to know what's going on with us, man, it's just phenomenal. I want to thank you very much for your support here. I mean, if I need something, I really thought about it. You know what? If I need to know something about somebody here, I'm just standing and talk to Karen.
I think that's fair. that's probably true. I told him outside that he was identifying all the folks he ran into, and I told him he should probably come work for your personnel department.
Man, he knows it down the list. So talk to me a little bit about your driving and how you enjoy driving, because you're very independent and organized and accountable. So talk to me a little bit about that. Let the community know. Just talk.
Yeah, I got my license on my 18th birthday, and on that day I also got my first car, and ever since then I started driving myself to places, and I even got to drive myself to school for the rest of my junior year and all of my senior year.
Okay. Well, sure, you did better than I did. Yes, matter of fact, I rolled the bus to school.
And ever since I got my license, some of the other high school students had also gotten their licenses, and they drove themselves as well.
Okay. So, as I was talking with y'all before we went live, I actually grew up. My grandparents were sharecroppers in Random, in and out. The sharecroppers a few years, moved back in the city, get tired of the city, move back in the county. So there was a young man by the name of, I knew him by L. That's what we call him. We call him L. L was a little younger, older white guy. I guess I may have been about 11 to 13 years old. L would have been about 14, 16 years old. And we actually hit it off very well. I mean, he wouldn't play basketball with nobody but me. He wouldn't catch the ball with nobody but me. He wouldn't sit down and talk with anyone but me within the group of the kids. And I never understood, the reason or the purpose. But then I think as we've gotten older, I've understood the fact it's about patience and understanding and listening to where people come from and how they deal with life. Talk with us a little bit about. Now you do a little part-time work here and there, or you do some interacting somewhere else.
Yeah, I work at Cheerwine, the distribution center on Sandy Ridge, and I help clean the warehouse, and I tear down and clean up the plastic wrap and put it in the baler, and I also sweep the floors, and I pick up the damaged products, and I take them back to the damage room and reorganize them in some trays. So the guy who repacks all the damage cases, he says I make his job a whole lot easier.
I guarantee you do. I was sitting here thinking that. Wait a minute. That is and honestly, that is a professional job. It's inside a warehouse. Warehouses must be kept clean.
That's right.
And everybody can't do them. Everybody's not called to do it.
I think you brought up a very good point about the connection piece, and I think it's a it's a misconception that persons with autism can't have those outside connections. Curran is absolutely a people person, as you witnessed.
Yes.
But it takes him a little bit to warm up, but once he reaches a comfort level, he's very outgoing, and I think that the connections that he's made with law enforcement, are really because the law enforcement community has been so receptive and just provided a level of friendship and comfort for him, which really speaks to the department and the people in the department. So we certainly appreciate it. I didn't fully understand it myself, when he'd tell us about the visits, but the law enforcement community has been extremely welcoming to him.
Well, he's very, very knowledgeable about the sheriff's office and the districts and who drives what. But we're very pleased with that. Very excited about the fact, now I often wonder sometimes, do you have a photographic memory? Because he remembers things better than I. And I actually supervise or oversee here, and he remembers car numbers better than I can.
I'll tell you a funny story. His memory has always been exceptional. Now, when he first started school, they how they do the spelling test. Yeah. And the model that they used to teach kids spelling is, you have list words, you cut them out, and you'd have to write them. Well, he was doing poorly on his spelling test, and I was like, "How is this possible? This boy's memory is ridiculous." He was doing work. And what we figured out is that his auditory processing is off the charts. So if he hears something, then it's on lockdown. So you'll see Curran. Not talking to himself, but he'll say things out loud, and when he does, it's on lockdown. So we just got him a little recorder. He would say the words, spell them, and then play it back to himself. Hundreds on spelling tests from that point forward. So his auditory memory is just off the charts.
I can see that. Now, your group with the Justice Law Firm, and you put more time in with what you do, but also y'all do scholarships as well. Is that not? I think I read that.
I'm heavily involved in Rotary, and through that involvement, my business, of course, has supported my efforts with Rotary. But yeah, scholarships are extremely important. And I think beyond that, I was able to work with a group of like-minded parents to start a school for kids with autism, which has been I think it's been great for the community. We helped organize and start Lionheart Academy at the Triad, and Curran was in our first class. Yeah, which was really cool.
I read that first graduating class.
That's right.
The class of 2020.
Yep. Or the COVID classes.
Yes. So, what are your future goals? What's your plan?
Well, I'm hoping to live on my own someday. Right now, we are connected with Social Security to help me fulfill these dreams.
So, as you see your dreams come to fruition, as a community leader, how can we help with that, and where you continue to be comfortable, not afraid of living life on your own, just moving forward.
Yeah, I've been getting to know what that's like ever since when my parents go out of town.
Mhm.
I stay home and take care of the houses and take care of our pets
Okay.
and make sure everything at the house is good.
That's great. That's great. One of the things I want to make sure that I think it's important that the general public understands how protected we are, law enforcement is, over our autism community. We're very protected, as well as the community. So we always want to make sure that we have the best interests in security and safety and all that.
Yeah.
Because those are things that draws concern at times.
That's absolutely right. I mean, as parents, when we're making the decisions on whether to, send your child out into the world, and I mean, he craves his own independence as he's articulated, but as a parent, it's like, okay, how much rope do you give him, right? Like, is driving on the table, is living independently, on the table. And, the truth of the matter is that, every challenge that has been put in front of Curran, it might not have been, on the quote unquote normal timeline, but he's achieved those things. So you just keep setting the bar higher and keep giving him the opportunity, to achieve those things. And he's, risen to the occasion. The thing that, and I don't have to tell you, I know you've seen the stories, nationally, where sometimes law enforcement has overreacted in certain situations. And, with a child with autism and now an adult with autism, one of the things is difficulty is processing emotion and being able to handle, and I mean, some typically developing people have a problem handling, situations, and they escalate. But it's really important for law enforcement to be trained in de-escalating it and recognizing those situations. And that's why, again, I'm so thankful for you bringing this kind of thing up to the forefront and being willing to address those things head on.
I tell people, we meet people from all walks of life, and I sit and I listen and I observe and I watch people movement. I watch men and women that I work with.
Right.
And then when you watch the news and the national news or the national news, it's amazing of how many people are faced with children that are autistic. I mean, and people would have never known. Matter of fact, I didn't know quite a few of them until I started background researching. I'm like, wow, this is huge. And there's so many out there, But that's how come I say it's so important that we learn each other. We know how to interact and we know what to look for when one may be going through a crisis.
That's right.
So for instance, if you there's experienced yourself going through a crisis or something, what were the first things that you would do? So we, as a law enforcement personnel, I would know, hey, Curran is going through this here. What do I need to do? What needs to happen?
Well, sometimes I start panicking if these things don't sound very good, and I freak out if I feel like I can't do these things. But sometimes I slowly understand the what I'm supposed to do, and then I get it done.
One of the things Curran's been, trained on, is to, if he's in a situation, that could be a crisis or, could escalate. He has been trained to, communicate that he has autism. And he was actually involved in, what could have been a really serious traffic accident. And it was serious enough. Thankfully, everybody was fine. And I could hear it in his voice, when he made the call. And of course, my first concern as a parent was, okay, we've got to make sure this interaction with the law enforcement officer is controlled and appropriate. And to his credit, and to the trooper, the state trooper, responded to the accident. To the state trooper's credit, he was able to first recognize, Curran did identify himself as a person with autism. The state trooper, of course, modified his approach, and before I could get on the scene, and everything was under control. I mean, Curran was escalated and very upset. But everybody handled it professionally. And that's because of training from both sides. That Curran was trained to articulate his challenges, and the trooper was clearly trained on how to respond to it.
So I'm gonna switch for a second. Go somewhere for a minute. In schools we have so many. We have more autistic children in the public schools of today than we've had probably for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that school resource officers and teachers and counselors and the administrators of the schools understand how to interact and deal with them. Just a question, and you all can help me understand a lot better. How do we go about bringing that educational piece to the administrative system of the school, as well as our SROs and teachers and staff? Children, and especially autistic children, may not understand something, and then by the time the situation, for instance, could have been handled, it was blown out of proportion.
That's right.
And then you have this child that possibly is being charged with an assault on a law enforcement officer or staff or teacher. So help me understand a good way to kind of deal with that.
Yeah, I've represented people in those exact situations. I mean, I litigated and did a lot of criminal law, before I shifted over to real estate. And those cases obviously interested me. And I will say, one of the best quotes I think I've heard is that if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. That's it. And that's really no different than the general population, right? You're gonna be a different way than Curran's going to be, or I'm going to be. I mean, we all have our own unique perspectives and how we're going to handle things. So I think there are certainly broad trainings that SROs should be getting, and primarily in the field of de-escalation. And I would say that's applicable to the entire student population, not just persons with autism. But certainly with persons with autism, the impacts can be far worse if the person isn't trained in de-escalation. And and I think it's incredibly important to for the SROs to get to know the population within their school on a personal level. And I mean, talk to those people. Talk to them on a daily basis. Make sure that there is a relationship, because Curran is going to have a far different reaction to someone that he knows and trusts than he is to somebody that he's unfamiliar with, and especially somebody that he's unfamiliar with that might be approaching him, with in a stern manner or in a manner where he becomes afraid. So building that trust level, I think is critical. Which that's boots on the ground. Getting to know people.
What do you think? What do you, from your perspective?
Well, sometimes I can get stressed easily, and sometimes when I get too much stress inside me, I can completely freak out and lose control of myself.
I've seen that happen, not with you. I've seen that happen with a few students here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to understand what to do, how to bring some positive solution before it gets out of hand.
That's right.
I don't want a child or a student to be expelled from school or suspended from school because of the lack of understanding how to de-escalate an issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has gotten to that point because they become so far out of control.
That's right.
But you just try to make sure that you do the right thing. But I think this is a great time to say we're going to invite the community in to help us. It is a great time for the community to understand it's not just in your corner. It is a great segment for all of us throughout, not just in Guilford County, but in the state of North Carolina, and better yet, not just in the state of North Carolina, but in the country of the United States of America. We're in an atmosphere now that we must take time out for one another to listen, to learn, to watch, and to observe on how to interact and make sure that we are not a country of being divided, but a country of being able to come together and work with us all, from the general population to those who are dealing with autism, to any type of handicap or whatever the situation may be. If it's not a handicap or just a general person, you never know who you're interacting with. You never know who you're coming in contact with. Some days you might just don't know who until someone like Curran just said, hey, Sheriff Rogers. And you wonder, like, who was his brother? But it's good. I just want to say, look, thank you all so very much for watching our first segment of Coffee with the Sheriff, a live taping, recorded session, where I wanted to do it live because it gives you the true impact and the feeling, I believe, coming from Chris and Karen Justice. Father, thank you all so very much.
Thank you, sir,
for what you have done.
Appreciate you.
To raise your son. Thank you so very much for being a part of our great community and the things that you take life by the horn. You don't take it as a challenge and say it's done. You take it by the horn and you ride it out. I thank you very much. That's more than I could say for some people. Some people just say, you know what, I just can't do it no more. Here's the product of two people, and they have been supported with other people with them to help take the bull by the horn and ride it out. Hey, I'm Sheriff Danny H. Rogers of the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. This has been another segment with Coffee with the Sheriff. Have a blessed week.